Dear friend, let's discover more of who we are together. Love, Haley and Amanda.
Hey, dear friends. We were just saying we never know how to start these, but it's fun to say, hey, dear friends, because y'all feel like our dear friends.
I know. You just listen to us every week.
I know.
And you're my dear friend.
Well, you're my dearest friend.
Oh. I'll throw up.
And today we are back with another hour episode. I'm loving the hour format.
Me too.
I feel like we get
can
to
talk
relax.
way slower. Ever since we went to 1 hour episodes, Amanda's feet have been on the couch.
I know. I get
shoes.
Way more comfortable because I can. I can settle in a little.
I know. What am I doing? I have
know.
my shoes on, my feet on the ground.
Good posture.
Idiot.
Idiot. But today it's just us. We don't have a guest today. And we are going to be talking about a conversation around song lyrics that we love that has sparked this kind of incredible conversation about the long game and making things
that are good
and quality
that take time. And sometimes it's an honest and deep conversation
with a dear friend.
That is the exact nourishment you need
to get back up, face the world, regain clarity,
get back up,
face the world,
and resume your mission with a new and focused energy.
That,
See
my
how
friends,
we have taken the time to
is the Young Pueblo
memorize that
poem memorized-ish.
Memorized-ish.
Yeah, a little bit memorized.
That is the why behind our podcast, though, and why we have these conversations, and we hope that they also benefit you and that they spark something in you to make you
get sent back out into the world a little bit more aligned.
Yes.
With clarity.
And I pledge to you.
I feel like our podcast is the clear eye drops everyone needs in the morning. Get the redness out and just head back out into the world.
That made me think of our very first sponsor.
What?
Tear-Free Sunless Tanner by DJ Tanner.
Okay. If you are new around here, if you know what we're talking about, you're an OG.
Yep.
Yeah, because when we first started the podcast, we made up fake sponsors that sponsored each episode, and the whole
they were the funniest thing to us personally.
The whole joke was that we would pick a celebrity sponsor, but it would be the knockoff of that person, and we would get so mad. So the first person was supposed to be DJ Tanner from Full House, Candace Cameron,
but it was really just a DJ
named Tanner who sold Sunless Tanner.
Yeah, tear-free.
And we were pissed because the management got it screwed up every episode.
And we had to pay for his flight back home.
Yeah, and all of it is fake.
Us.
It's just us.
And it's us. And I was DJ Tanner.
And we wore...
And Amanda got tanning solution in her eyes.
My favorite sponsor is Justin Timberlake.
Oh, God.
The plumber.
From the plumbing solution in sync to clear your pipes.
And we made videos. They're on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
And we made videos, commercials. This is
what we did during
this
quarantine.
was quarantine. Like, I remember my students, I showed them one of the videos, and they were like, "You guys made this?" And I was like, "Yeah."
I felt like the best parts of us came alive.
Oh my gosh. And my favorite was Quarantini, where you got drunk while you did a core workout with Regina Sippins.
They would send you instead of Richard Simmons, Regina Sippins, and they would mail you a DVD player because you don't have one, and a martini mix.
Anyways.
And your workout video.
If you know what we're talking about, you're an OG from the beginning. we even like cut the audio into each episode as our sponsors.
Using weird sound effects and stuff.
Oh my gosh, it was the time of our lives.
And it had the really fast talking at the end like an infomercial.
Yes, it did. It had the talking infomercial voice at the end.
And
You
it
got to
was all-
check it out. It's
yeah.
on the YouTube channel. Also, keep listening to us after you watch this because I swear we get better. But we have a pledge.
Another silly thing that we have come up with and inserted it into our
podcast for no
because
reason other than
can
we
do
like
whatever
puns.
we want. Yeah.
And
Right?
honestly, y'all, when we say this pledge today, really listen to it and appreciate the puns.
Yeah.
It's good. You ready?
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United Mates in America, and rarely in public is where we stand, one friendship, under God, indivisible, live purdy, and just us for all. Now, we came up with that in a car on the way to work on a mural, and we about had a wreck. We were laughing so hard.
we actually came up with that years ago when we were leaving a bar called
The
the
Libertine.
Libertine. So it used to say in the Libertine.
With just us for all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of live purdy.
So we created a podcast where we get to just say all the dumb stuff we come up with. Thanks for listening. Signing off. End of
Call in.
episode. Call in 1-800 Dear Friend Podcast.
It's too many numbers.
Okay, so today we are talking about making something good. Now, this is a reference to this artist, Laura Veirs. She's a musician in Washington State. She is there's something about her.
Yeah.
We've always really, really liked her music. And then I remember in college, she put out this album, July Flame, and I just became obsessed with it. And I remember I was driving home from college. It was like a 6-hour drive to get home. I'm listening to it with my windows down, like on repeat, obsessing. Can't wait to share it with you when I come in town.
Right.
And there's one song on the album. Well, all the songs I loved.
Yes.
But this one song called Something Good.
Mm.
It just put me in my feels. It made me like feel a certain type of way. The words are so enchanting. And you were even like, I want this played at my wedding one day.
Yes. I want this song played at my wedding.
Yes.
It's
And so we're going to kind of read some of the lyrics to start out with before we dive into the content of this episode, because the song is kind of the core idea of what we're talking about today.
and something that it's an idea that we've been talking about for years and years.
Yeah.
And so
And we think it's really important.
and we love music and lyrics. We have an episode that is
I
called
love-
Our Favorite Lyrics.
I think we referenced this song
I
in our
think we do,
favorite
yeah.
lyrics episode.
So do you want to read all of the lyrics? I don't.
No.
Okay.
But we can read some of our faves.
I like the whole song. So
You want me to try to read the whole? It's short.
yeah, it's short. It's
Okay.
and we have an hour.
Yeah, might as well.
Jeez.
So this song is by Laura Veirs, Something
Who's
Good.
welcome to come on the podcast
Yeah,
anytime
Laura,
she
get your little
wants.
tushy over here.
We've messaged you before.
And
We
she
like your new
responded to
album.
us.
Yeah, I know.
She said, thanks for supporting my music.
Yeah, we
And
love your music and we're proud of you.
You heard it here, people. We're proud of you, Laura Veirs. Okay, here's the lyrics. It says, I wanted to make something sweet, the blood inside the maple tree, the sunlight trapped inside the wood makes something good. I wanted to make something strong, an organ pipe in a cathedral that stays in tune through 1,000 blooms makes something good. It's going to take a long, long time, but we're going to make something so fine. And I wanted to make something pure, an emerald field from deer manure, a wild-eyed child in a moonlit room makes something good. I wanted to make something built to last, a bottled ship with a golden mast, and through the squall, the course stays true, makes something good.
Ooh.
It's going to take a long, long time, but we're going to make something so fine. And I think for me, what I was so drawn to about those lyrics is there's a lot of areas that this hits about like wanting to make something good. But in relationships, obviously, the things that you put your hands to physically, but in our world where everything is so like
instant gratification.
Yes.
The most efficient.
Yes. And you can be like jumping from thing to thing, and everything feels more temporary in a way. Like there is something to be said when you commit.
Yep.
You choose loyalty, you choose endurance, you choose quality and mastery, and it takes a lot longer to do that. But the song is kind of about committing to that path.
To the good, to that path and that course, but to the beauty that lies in the goodness that only really comes with time.
Yeah.
Because we were even just saying, like, you can find something in the beginning and it be so, like, whether it's meeting a person or whether it's building something right at first or even a career endeavor, it can be so good right at first. And I'm not taking away from that.
Right.
But there is something that comes along with you making it through
season after season.
Yes. And like that lyric, that organ pipe that stays in tune through 1,000 blooms.
Yeah. Make something good.
Yeah. And through all the squalls, that course stays true.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
And we kind of, when we were talking about this episode, we were talking about like, yes, when you are physically doing something tangible, like making something or starting a business or things like that, but then also like relationships.
Right.
And for us, we have been best friends on April 28th this year, which we just had our friendiversary.
We turned 18.
We turned 18 years old. We can vote.
We voted.
We
can
bought
smoke
cigarettes.
And not us. Our friendship smoked.
Yeah.
I would never
17.
do that. Yeah.
I'm still just 17.
Yeah. I don't know who to vote. I'm just kidding.
So we, that's a significant amount of time.
It's very significant.
It's almost 20 years of solid friendship.
Well, and we're not grandmas.
Yeah, we're pretty young. We're in our early 30s, and we've been together for 20 years.
Yeah, so we decided early on, whatever this is, we're in the long game.
Yeah.
And we stayed with it, and I feel like I interrupted you.
No.
But, that's why I'll get emotional about this.
I hope you cry. It makes for a better episode. I'm kidding.
It does. But now I feel the pressure and I've lifted out of it.
Good.
Sometimes I think that one of the only real things of significance I have to show for at the end of the day is, and not the only thing, but is this friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Because
we do it really well.
We do it really well. And what else have I done for 18 years, putting my best foot forward?
Yeah.
Caring about the quality, having no second guess about the commitment and the long game of it.
Yeah.
Like, this friendship is something it will be like my prized possession,
Yeah.
Because, people have friendships and they get married and, you even may have a home for a long time or whatever, but it's like such a rare thing to deposit and commit to something
for so long. And with no intention of going anywhere.
No, and like that feeling of there's going to be different seasons and there's going to be changes and like, you won't believe it, but sometimes Amanda and I get in arguments.
We have never.
Sometimes she doesn't like me.
What?
But
impossible.
But I know at the end of the day, I'm going to be in this person's life, I hope, forever,
Yeah.
And that's so rare and it's so special.
And it's a long game.
It's very long.
And we were kind of talking about, in relationships, you encounter new people pretty constantly, and you definitely can have a very natural, immediate connection with certain people. And then, you meet them again a couple of times and you start to have like an
intuition
or discernment about that person. It's going to either feel natural to continue with them and to pursue the friendship, or you're not going to feel the desire to continue. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's just easy and natural, and you do it without even really thinking about it, which I believe is what happened with us. And sometimes you have to put in the work, and you have to put your best foot forward with that person and show your loyalty and show the type of person that you are and want to be. And neither one of those approaches is wrong, but it is you making that decision to go the long haul with a friendship or or a romantic relationship too.
Yeah.
And
it's just interesting too, because we were talking about this. It's like a metaphor that, and it's true for this situation too. Like, let's say, yes, you're going to build a house.
Yeah.
I mean, these days you see houses go up, and I swear I went on a walk the other day and there was like a house at its studs. And then I took a walk 2 days later and I was like, the house is finished.
Yeah.
And what materials are you using? And you were talking about like even furniture and stuff, like furniture that's antique, and the different style that it took for them to make it was much longer, and the materials were way more expensive and better quality.
Yeah, like I personally, every time I buy furniture, you won't see me at CB2 or West Elm, or like you're going to see me shopping antique or secondhand, because that stuff's made with real solid wood. You know what I mean? And this is a metaphor, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, the quality of material and effort and craftsmanship that you put into something, and I'm talking about even in your relationships, is also going to be what help make it last and make
The
it
metaphor is strong.
and make it good for so long. And nowadays, even nice furniture that's expensive, like at these stores, they're like composite wood. They're, you know what I mean? They're not solid wood. They're not made with craftsmanship. They're made with, machines.
And there are techniques that they're more efficient, but
and they won't last.
And they cut corners. They don't last. I'm even thinking about like, your husband is so good with instruments and sound, and he like geeks out on the different ways of recording things.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Will here at Fernware knows what we're talking about. There's the old manner of doing things. It was longer, it was harder, but the material and the technique and that warmth of the quality
And
of
like
the
using
music.
analog. And,
Yeah, I mean, like you can't even compare to it.
Yeah.
But it's a choice you have to make from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, that metaphor is just really strong for when you decide to enter into whether it is like a career path or a relationship or an endeavor. You know what we mean by like
Using your highest quality.
yes, and taking your time
And taking care.
and quality time, or cutting corners, like
Yeah.
it matters from the beginning.
I totally agree. And I think especially, so I would consider still newly married. I've been married for 2.5 years. And it's, marriage is not this super fun, easy thing all the time.
What?
I know. I'm
Not
crazy.
doing it.
I know. Sometimes it's really hard because you care so much and things feel a lot like higher stakes kind of at least it felt higher stakes at the beginning because you are setting up what you feel like is this life together, and you want to make sure everything is right, and you want to make sure you're setting each other up for success in the long haul. But then the thing that I notice over and over again, like the thing that shows up in, at least in my marriage over and over again, is just like whenever I choose to like lean in to that I'm in this commitment for the long haul, and this initial moment that we're having right now, even though it's frustrating, it's not my long game. You know what I mean? And like we're gonna get past this moment. We're gonna figure this out. And all I have to do is put my quality towards him, like my highest qualities that I see in him, that I adore in him. Like I have to focus on those things in that moment. Do you know what I mean?
Of course,
like
yeah.
you have to kind of choose to see your long game, make the commitment to it, because there's times where with you and I, when we go into a season where we're just not seeing eye to eye, we're frustrated with each other, and there's times that we want to run away. You know what I mean? Like we've had moments like that. We want to run away from each other. We want to have a different life from each other because we're frustrated in that moment, and then we realize,
You're my long game.
yeah, this isn't something I'm willing to let go of. And so you keeping that, are you crying?
Yes.
But like keeping that goal in mind, I think, is important, because there are going to be those seasons and moments where you do want to give up. You do just want to go off and do something different, but you want to make something good.
Right.
If you want to make something good, you have to stay with it.
I was just talking actually with my therapist recently about the word anchor. Like it's a word that I feel really, really strongly about. And it's interesting because, and she pointed this out to me, that an anchor is attached at the bottom. So it's grounded. It's not, you're not going anywhere. But up at the surface, if you see a boat, the waves and the wind and everything is moving it around.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that just because you're anchored to something that you're never going to move, you're never going to have any sort of like
flexibility.
Yeah, flexibility or turbulence, or what weather's coming, or like there's so many different things that could happen, but you're anchored.
Yeah.
And it's a really beautiful like metaphor to me, an image that both exist. And I feel like there are times where there's relationships and endeavors and things that you build where it's just the surface and you're not anchored.
Yeah.
And you feel out of control and you don't know what to hold on to. And, you're so affected by every single change.
And it's a very anxious way to be. Yeah.
But then there's also some anxiety that comes with feeling anchored to something and there being no movement or flexibility. That's also completely unrealistic,
Yeah.
And I think we were even saying that we touched on this a little with the Baha'i girls.
Yeah.
Like that, and our episode about like success and failure, that was a long time ago, but that you can also, like outside of relationships too, you can set goals and have these objectives and things that you really care about, and you set them out there like an anchor, sort of.
Right.
But you can't plan out every step by step thing and know exactly how everything's going to work, and then you like eliminate all that stretchiness we talk about and all that flexibility. And like, what's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever you make a goal, it's good, but you have to be flexible because you don't know what's headed your way. And if you're too strict and you're too rigid to the goal, then you're missing the point entirely, because the journey is the biggest part. You know what I mean? Like the goal is maybe the initial thing that you do to keep your eyes on, but what you're doing day to day to achieve the goal is the most important.
Yeah.
Right? Because
it's almost like, to take it to that metaphor of like building furniture, it's like building this beautiful thing and then like never using it.
right. Well, and something I think is really interesting with our friendship is we met when we were super young, like baby teenagers, little teeny boppers. And we have changed dramatically from those people, but somehow we changed together. And what's weird to me is it really wasn't on purpose. I know that it sounds like, well, I bet you did try. No, it seemed like the alterations that were happening within ourselves happened to be in sync naturally. And that's the thing about you and I that feels like a soul connection, unexplainable,
like
don't understand
else is
it.
On our side.
Yes, because you and I have never like had those conversations where I'm like, hey, I'm starting to like feel this way and believe this, and I'm shifting away from this. And then we've never had that where you're like, okay, well then maybe I should start thinking about, like, you're like,
going
me
a different
too.
Direction.
I've been going through this on my own separately. Do you know what I mean? Like it's been a very weird part of our journey and friendship that these moves, huge pivots in our lives throughout our 20s and our teen years happened at the same time. Even whenever you lived in Spain and I was still in Texas, like we would make these shifts together.
And then we'd like join back up and somehow have found each other on the same point in the journey somewhere.
Yeah. It's kind of what, like, to me, that's something really unique about us that I can't quite explain and I think is really special.
Yeah.
But I know not all relationships are like that, and you have to be intentional about changing together and moving towards the certain goals together. And we were kind of talking about how, like, in Atomic Habits, he says it's really easy
Atomic Habits is a book.
Yes, by James Clear. And he says it's so easy to set a goal and to be like, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. Well, that's really easy. But then the hard work comes with, what are you doing every day to like achieve that, right? So it is important to set a goal, but it's more important to be working to achieve it too.
And it kind of changes your measure of success, right? Because then it's not like, I've set this goal out here and I'm only successful if I achieve that thing in this way. It's almost like you have to like back all the way back up. You set this thing out and then you come back to the present and you're like measuring by, I don't know, like small little successes that feel in line with that objective. But it's not always going to look how you think it's going to look, I don't think.
One of the things that in our friendship that really helped us in a moment of kind of,
oh my goodness,
where we felt like we were at a breaking point.
Yeah.
We were so frustrated with each other, and
and it was a moment in our lives where like a season was changing.
Yeah.
So it was a decision to live our lives together or live our lives separately.
Yeah.
Because this thing was happening and
it just could have been a breaking point for us.
Right.
And you kind of had this revelation talking to a dear friend of ours who we have an episode with.
Yeah, Nancy Wonders.
But this poem by David White, who we love, we mention him almost every episode.
This was kind of our intro into David White too. Like he came to us during this breaking point. And I think that's why he's so formative in our like minds and psyches and spirits, because that's when he came into our lives, was in such a tender place.
This poem's called The Face in the Stone.
Yep.
And do you want to read it and then kind of tell us what you took from this and how it kind of helped our friendship?
Sure. So just a tiny little background, just so you understand the poem a little bit. He goes on these walking trips in like Wales and Ireland and Cornwall, and he learns a lot from nature, like gets a lot of insight through these walks and through the universe like that. And there's this one place that has this face that's carved into a stone.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt like one day that this face was telling him something, and he could not understand it for the longest time. Anyways, he got the revelation, and then he wrote this poem. It says, "The face in the stone is a mirror looking into you. You have gazed at the moving waters. You have seen the slow light in the sky above Lakaina," which is a place. "Beneath you, streams have flowed, and rivers of earth have moved beneath your feet. But you have never looked into the immovability of stone like this. The way it holds you gives you not a way forward, but a doorway in. Staunches your need to leave, becomes faithful by going nowhere. Something that wants you to stay here and look back. Be weathered by what comes to you, like the way you too have traveled from so far away to be here, once reluctant, and now as solid and as here and as willing to be touched as everything you have found."
So what did that mean for you as like in our friendship?
I think it was just a wake-up call that the kind of person I want to be and the kind of friend I want to be is a friend that that's faithful by going nowhere.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, and the weatheredness of it, like there's so many things moving around you. You see the streams, you see the different light. You're out, this stone, this face has been out there for like thousands of years, and it's like weathered and it's wearing away, but it's still there.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't always give you this doorway out to go somewhere. Sometimes you taking the next step is staying and looking at yourself and going inward instead of just like running away. And that's really hard.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if there's anything in my life that's worth staying for and making last, is this.
Yeah.
And so I just made a decision right then and there that I wasn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I kind of, already knew that, but when you hit really, really hard, rough patches that get you to your core, I mean, you've got to reevaluate and kind of recommit and make that decision again and again and again, And I've never looked back 1 second from that. And I love that we are this weathered old face in the stone that's going nowhere,
Yeah, and I think, something that we see a lot is that it's so easy for friendships and for people these days to walk away when things are difficult because you are self-preserving. You think like, well, I don't have to deal with this. I can just go move on. This is just a friendship. Sometimes people put friendship on
totally
a different playing field than other relationships, which I understand if you've never had a friendship that was deeper than, I don't know. We have this one, but obviously there's different levels of relationships and friendships. And I think the sad thing is if you did find somebody who you did feel some type of connection to and you wanted to lean in, but you didn't, you're missing out on making that something good, building that thing that could last. And I think, sometimes when we get frustrated and our egos get hurt or we get defensive or whatever it may be, it's so easy to just turn and pivot and do something else entirely instead of stay. And obviously, if it's toxic and it's unhealthy, that's not what I'm talking about. We're
talking about meeting hard moments, and instead of walking, you go inward and figure out how to stay.
Right. Because obviously, if someone's abusive in any type of capacity or toxic, that's not worth fixing or anything like that. So I don't want to be confusing with that. It's just sometimes it does feel like the easier road to just pivot away. But if you stay and you lean in and you get to that, like hunker down with that person, have the weird conversation, get through the awkwardness, you at the end of it will have made something good. And it will be something fine. It will last. It will be the thing that you can be proud of.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's things like my parents just celebrated 52 years of marriage.
Woo, woo.
And that's a long time.
It
and
is.
I'm not going to lie and say they have a perfect marriage and it's so great, because it's like any relationship that has lasted that long has had many ups and downs. But what they were holding at their 50th anniversary celebration was gold.
Yes.
And
it almost doesn't exist.
Yes, and it was such a precious moment to be a part of, because I was looking at these two people who have definitely faced their trials and challenges in 50 years together. And through the squall, their course, like I'll cry, but like their course stayed true. And they chose to make something good. And my dad said at the dinner, it was during quarantine, so we made this beautiful party at my brother's house. So it was just our family. And my dad just kind of said, like, his most prized possession is like looking around at this family surrounded by them that they built together. And because they stayed together and went through the hard times, look at the prize.
Yeah,
like
the fruit.
Yes, like they're standing around this beautiful thing that because of their work and commitment and loyalty through those hard moments, they have this huge treasure in this family that they built together. And it was all their grandchildren and everybody there. And it was such a beautiful moment, and that picture into leaning into the long haul, like the long game.
And we talk about this a lot too, about this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of the most important things in our lives.
Doing this right now.
And we have a whole bunch of other stuff going on.
Right.
But we have that other stuff going on because we know this is the long game and we're here for it. And we know that this is going to be small successes at a time.
Little wins, but we're celebrating them.
Yeah. And so next week, or in 2 weeks, it will be our 2-year
podcast anniversary.
Yeah, anniversary. And when we started this, we knew this isn't going to be all of a sudden overnight. You're going to have all these listeners and all these sponsors and be able to do anything you want. But we started close in, and we've tried to stay with quality.
Yep. And we've seen consistent growth, and even it's just small wins.
Very
but
small, but
we give it our best ability.
Yep.
Because it's something that's really important to us, and we allow ourselves to dream about it. And we know, like, podcast market is super oversaturated. There's so many podcasts, and we knew we just had to stay consistent and keep doing things to the best of our ability for what we had in the moment, like the best equipment we had at the moment.
Right.
And now, we're here at Fernware. We've got Will doing the audio engineering, and it's so exciting to see these steps, and we try to do the best we can at each stage we're in, and it's to build something good. And
like
make
this,
something good.
Like, we're not messing around with this. We're not trying to cut corners and zip through certain things just so we can have 1,000 more followers on Instagram. Like, that isn't meaningful for us.
No.
Like, we are here to make quality connections. We think we have a unique thing going on. We believe in it. We believe in a unique vision that's very far out. We have casted our, what is it? I was trying to make a fishing reference. Anyways,
our nets. We've casted our nets.
Like, we've thrown our line very far out. We have a clear vision, but we're along for this slow, maybe, journey trying to stay present for whatever comes to us. We didn't know we were going to end up here at Ferndware, and it's been unbelievable. We don't know what's coming next for us.
Right.
And it's really nice to know that we're going to do this for a really long time and that it's going to be good, because then you don't put that pressure on yourself of like,
oh, I've got to be at this success. I've got to be at this level at this point. And I think there is, people talk about this a lot, like this hustle mentality and doing the most and making the most money and getting where you need to be. And definitely, I feel that pressure sometimes a lot.
Yes.
But there is something to be said about what you're saying. Going close in, being consistent, staying true to you, what you want to accomplish, what your true goal is, not what you think the goal should be with a podcast. Like when we dream and we set aside time to dream about this, we have unique ideas about where we want to take this and how we want to get it there. And it's because we take time to let ourselves think differently about it and not just cast these visions or set these goals that everyone else is setting.
And these long-term goals that we have, although that we're so excited about them, we want to freak out, we want to do them right now.
Yeah.
But like we wanted to do one of our things a year ago, but you can't skip the space. Like you can't skip through all the steps.
Yeah.
Some things, instant gratification is just not, it doesn't last.
Yeah.
And so, and that can go, we're talking about our podcast, but that mentality and that consistency and authenticity can be applied to whatever you're pursuing.
Right.
I mean, I'm an artist. I've been making art since I was a child, and I'm nowhere where I think I could be or should be or whatever that even means, but I keep making art.
Yeah.
And just whatever you're applying it to, like, don't skip the steps. Like, be sure you stay close in. Take just the next right step.
Yeah, I think what I want to leave people with today, when you're listening to this, if you're at a place where, whether it be in your job, like your vocation, your profession, or in your relationships, friendships, marriage, partnership, whatever, if you're at a place where you're at kind of a breaking point, and again, this is we're not talking about toxic things. We're talking about, some internal frustrations or, feeling almost that just you want to break away. You want to pivot. I encourage you to really self-examine how you're feeling and maybe make the choice to lean in.
Yeah, because
instead of turning away.
Just like the poem, like sometimes it's not a doorway forward, it's a doorway in.
Yes.
So check it.
Yeah. And, you might find that it still feels right to walk away, and that's totally fine.
Yep.
But maybe before you make that decision, make the decision to lean in and see if you can make something good of it. Because I think those things that we're saying where we give it the time and we go the long haul with something, that's when we get to see those fruits that we cherish at the end of it.
Only come from things that have really time been spent on them.
Yeah.
I mean, maturity.
Yeah.
And we only have this certain amount of time here on this earth and stuff, which is hard to talk about, but it's like you only really get one chance to make these long haul, long game things. So if you can, do it.
Yeah, make something good. Something that stays in tune through 1,000 blooms.
Yep.
It's simple. It's kind of I love how she simplifies those phrases in the song, but they really cut to the core.
Yep,
You know what I mean?
Do.
Like, it's just sometimes you got to choose to make something good, not something easy and fast and something that gets you from point A to point B, like something that will stay the course.
Mm.
It's just beautiful. I'll sing that song at your wedding for you.
Yes, you will. Thank you guys for listening in. And I know it was kind of like a deep, moving
Yeah, that was a more
conversation,
serious conversation than typical.
That's okay.
Yeah, it was still nice.
And
we've been talking about it a lot together,
yeah.
so
hope that it grounded you or anchored you a little bit, and that you can share this with somebody, maybe a dear friend that might need to hear it, and that it ripple effects out to, make all of our days and our relationships and our endeavors a little bit better and more aligned.
Yeah.
And don't forget, you can watch us. You can see our faces, see Amanda's feet up on a couch.
Oh, Lord.
Just leaning in here.
Just chilling.
If you go visit us over at YouTube, Dear Friend, Podcast. Thank you, Will Flato, for recording us and editing, spending your time to make something good.
And you can also follow us on Instagram at dearfriend.podcast. We are here at Fernware in Oak Cliff, Texas, filming and recording. If you want to follow them, you can follow them at Fernware. And if you like the music at the beginning and end of the episode, it's our band's music. And you can find all the info you need to about our band at sistertheband.com.
And y'all, we'll be here. We'll be back.
Can't wait to celebrate our 2-year anniversary. We did it. We're making something good.
Yes.
I hope. Y'all have a good one.
See you.